Recording in progress.
Madam Clerk, the time is 6:30 p.m. I call to order this special closed session of the Emeryville City Council and Management of Emeryville Service Authority. This meeting is being conducted in person at 1330 Park Boulevard here in Emeryville, California. The City Council welcomes comments, including criticisms about the policies, procedures, programs, or services of the city or of the acts or missions of the City Council. Speakers shall not use threatening, profane, or abusive language which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of a City Council, successor agency, management of Emeryville Service Authority, or related meeting. The city is committed to maintaining a workplace full of unlawful harassment and is mindful that city staff regularly attend City Council meetings. Discriminatory statements or conduct that would potentially violate Fair Employment and Housing Act, such as statements or conduct that is hostile, intimidating, oppressive, or abusive, is per se disruptive to a meeting and shall not be tolerated. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Here.
Councilmember Carr?
Present.
Councilmember Pryforce is absent. Vice Mayor Mora?
Present.
Mayor Welsh?
Here. Item 3 is ex parte communications. Members, do any of you have any ex parte communications to report for this agenda? Seeing and hearing none. Now is the time for public comment on closed session items only. Any member of the public that would like to make a public comment on closed session items can do so now for 2 minutes. Seeing no members of the public here with us, I will now close public comment. Madam Clerk, we will take items 5 and 6 and sub-items in closed session and report out. We are now, at the time is 6:31 p.m., we are now adjourned to closed session.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Time is 6:52 PM. We have returned from closed session. Mr. City Attorney, do you mind reporting out of closed session?
Thank you, Mayor Welch. There was no reportable action taken in tonight's closed session.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, the time is 6:53 PM. This meeting is adjourned.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
PM, I call to order this meeting of the management of Emeryville Service Authority. This meeting is being conducted in person at 1333 Park Avenue here in Emeryville, California. The City Council welcomes comments, including criticisms about the policies, procedures, programs, or services of the city, or the acts or missions of the City Council. Speakers shall not use threatening, profane, or abusive language which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of a city council, successor agency, management of Emeryville Service Authority, or related meeting. The city is committed to maintaining a workplace free of unlawful harassment and is mindful that city staff regularly attend council meetings. Discriminatory statements or conduct that would potentially violate the Fair Employment and Housing Act, such as statements or conduct that is hostile, intimidating, oppressive, or abusive, is per se disruptive and will not be tolerated. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders? Here. Councilmember Carr?
Present.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Here.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Present.
Mayor Welsh?
Here. Item 3 is approval of the final agenda. Members, do we have a motion to approve the final agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the final agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Aye.
Mayor Welsh?
Aye. Item 4 is ex parte communications. Members, please look over this agenda, which is filled with action minutes. Do any of you have any ex parte communications to report for this agenda? Thank you. Item 5 is public comment for the consent agenda or items not on the agenda. Any member of the public that would like to comment on the consent agenda or items not on the agenda can do so now for 2 minutes. Please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Bowie. I'm an attorney. I'm here on behalf of Butner Properties. I also happen to be a property owner here in Emeryville because I own the building which houses FedEx office right now off of Christie. I'm here to talk about the 40th Street Multimodal Plan. We have looked at that plan in detail, and frankly, we appreciate the fact that staff had a meeting with us earlier today to go over some of our concerns. We went to the trouble of having a traffic report prepared because we think that the traffic studies completed to date are woefully inadequate. Our main concern is not the overall project itself, but the closures of the unsignalized intersections to the north side of 40th Street. We think that's a terrible idea. We frankly think that that sort of action would doom any plans for redevelopment of our properties, which currently comprise about 25,000 square feet of space in 3 separate parcels. Certainly the city and everyone would want those parcels to be redeveloped. That's not going to happen if there's a closure of those streets. I'm not here just because my client's concerned about this. We're also, and my client's concerned about all the other businesses and property owners that are affected by the same proposed event. The net result is that we think that there'll be a devastating impact on traffic congestion and also will really preclude the successful maintenance and operation of the properties and the businesses in this area. I have to ask myself when I read the study itself, what is being accomplished? What's the goal of closing those intersections? And we had Steve Abrams, our traffic engineer, do a study of that. And what's interesting is there isn't any definable goal that's actually accomplished by those closures. I understand the city's concerned about bicycles and safety and things of that sort. But our traffic engineer and our traffic expert confirms that there's nothing unsafe about those unsignalized intersections. As a matter of fact, there are far more accidents that take place statistically at signalized intersections than unsignalized intersections. So it's a situation where you're purporting to prioritize the rights of certain parties against the rights of others.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
I yield my time to Mr. Bowie.
I'll allow it. Madam Clerk, can you reset for 2 minutes? Just 1 moment while she sets the timer.
Thank you very much. Just to reiterate the point that I was in the process of making, whenever you're making a legislative decision, you necessarily have to balance the interests of all kinds of people. That's not just academic. Under your transportation goals in the general plan, you're actually supposed to not favor any particular mode of transportation, but balance all means of transportation and consider the impacts of all of those means of transportation on any particular project. I looked at, and I had Steve Abrams look at this entire project to weigh what the concerns and balancing part of the decision-making process might be. And what we found is that bicycles are obviously intended to be benefited by the closures, but there's no necessary benefit to those bicyclists by the closures. So then you have to say, why would you close those intersections? Because there is obviously a detriment to traffic and congestions, and we've demonstrated that by means of the traffic report we've actually created. And there's also obviously a detriment to the businesses and property owners in the area. And you're going to hear from other property owners this evening, and you'll hear from more as time goes by, because this is a very significant course of events. And what we determined was that there's actually no demonstrable benefit to bicyclists. So you're prioritizing a group, you're purporting to benefit them, but there's no actual evidence that there would be any benefit conferred by that particular policy. In contrast to that, we have a situation where there is huge detriment to property owners and to businesses in the area. I think that makes it questionable whether it's an appropriate decision for the city council to make to complete those closures. This is a very serious matter. We certainly urge you to think about this very carefully. We would like the opportunity to meet with each of you separately with our traffic engineer to go over some of our specific concerns. I'd like to introduce that. I'll be in touch with you to see if we can set that up.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
I'll allow one additional yield. Madam Clerk, please set the timer for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Actually, I am nearly closed. I don't need to take too much more of your time, but it is important to us that we have a voice, we be heard by this council. And I know that your council wants to hear all of our voices and all of our opinions on this as well. It'd be inappropriate to make a decision in advance of hearing our views and in advance of having the benefit of the traffic study that we've commissioned and provided. Because I will tell you frankly that the traffic study work that's been done to date really does not meet any standards and does not answer any of the questions that you need to consider when you're making this very important decision. So having said that, I will look forward to hopefully meeting with each of you individually with my traffic engineer, and we'll look forward to participating actively in additional hearings. I've been a little puzzled, and I'll have to say that I reached out to your engineer a couple of times to see about meeting with the Transportation Committee and doing some coordination there. We've never been successful in setting anything up. And as far as I can tell, it's a subject matter that the Transportation Committee has yet to actually consider. And I'm assuming the council wants the input of that committee. We'd like to provide some input to that Transportation Committee. So I would simply ask, and I know you can't respond to me, but I would simply ask that we have the opportunity to meet with the Transportation Committee staff and you, each of you council members individually, to present our views. And we'll look forward to being here at the time of the actual decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other members of the public wishing to make a comment can do so now for 2 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Appreciate your time. My name's Steve Abrams with Abrams Associates Traffic Engineering. We were hired to provide additional analysis of the 40th Street project, specifically because the analysis really focused on existing conditions and didn't analyze the cumulative and build-out or even baseline approved conditions with any sort of increases in background traffic. And once we did that, it was clear, the removal of a lane in each direction obviously would result in increased congestion, whether or not that's a consideration or not under the current law is irrelevant. The reason we studied it is because by closing off the other two roads, all the traffic gets focused onto these signalized intersections that are already congested. And for example, Horton would be the only remaining way out of the neighborhood, and it only has one lane. It has no right turn or left lane, and as part of this bikeway, the right turns on red would also be prohibited. And so all traffic would have to come out this one street. It's the only way out of the neighborhood. It's kind of like if you have a big shopping center that only has one driveway onto the main road, it gets backed up, and then people don't like getting in and out of there because it's less desirable. It can essentially be a governor on future growth. And in fact, the only way someone could really challenge my analysis is to assume less growth in the future. Essentially making my point is that if you assume the growth that's already been forecast in the county model and otherwise for the city, then there'll be significant congestion in the future, whether or not that's a factor in your decision. I respect each community's right to decide how to approach these, projects.
Thank you for your comment. I'll allow it. Madam Clerk, please set the timer for 2 additional minutes.
Thank you. So essentially, there's one lane coming out. You're taking out a lane in each direction on 40th Street, and then by closing these other 2 streets, you've effectively taken out another 4 lanes of access to this neighborhood, 1 lane in, 1 lane out. And all of the people who currently can turn right without any delay now onto 40th Street are all gonna have to queue up behind the folks on Hollis and Horton at the only remaining open streets where there's a traffic signal and no right turn on red and no additional lanes. It's also no secret that by creating a dead-end street on Hubbard, that could create safety issues, not just from homeless or vans parking there, but less traffic and less eyes on the street makes it less safe. And this could become a potential safety issue for the neighborhood. But in going to the point about what is it that you get by closing this road, believe it or not, it's not a safety issue. I've studied it, and in talking further about this, I've kind of come to learn that it's really about bicyclist comfort. They could feel more comfortable riding through this intersection if it's closed and there's no traffic. It's not reducing accidents, but the truth is, the concern is they're going to be coming down the hill off of the bridge, and they'd have to slow down at this intersection if it wasn't closed, because there could be traffic there. So really, you're talking about hamstringing the economic development of an entire neighborhood, possibly introducing safety and other access problems. I mean, that neighborhood is going to be frustrated with you for years to come. But I think the bike advocates can probably live, they're getting their awesome bikeway. If you just allow that street to be open, all it means is maybe folks coming down off the bridge have to slow down a little bit at this intersection, because occasionally cars turn right out of there. They can only turn right. So ultimately, that would be the
Thank you
main
for your
reason.
comment.
I really appreciate your time.
My name is Deborah Heamy.
Just give her 1 moment.
Sure.
Madam Clerk, are you set? Please continue.
Thank you for listening to me again. I am only here to say that my family and I are very much behind the 8 ball on this. We probably should have been requesting and speaking to you guys before your last year's vote. We are, as you can tell, all together asking for a reconsideration of the closure of Hubbard and all the other closures that are part of this multimodal plan. Of course, for us, it's Hubbard, but it's Watts, it's the Granite Expo block. I can't remember the name. It starts with an H. But what I would like to say is that because we're late to the game, I would like to ask the council members to consider meeting with us individually over the next few months to just listen to our side and reconsider the closures. I'll be reaching out to you guys if that's okay. That's all I'm here to say is when you see an email from me, you'll remember, hopefully, that I was here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other member of the public wishing to make comment on an item not on the agenda or for the consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none, I am now closing public comment. Item 6 is the consent agenda. Members, please review the consent agenda. Would any member like to pull an item? If not, do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. The roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Aye.
Mayor Welsh?
Aye. Madam Clerk, the time is 7:28 p.m. This meeting is adjourned. Madam Clerk, the time is still 7:28 p.m. I call to order the City of Emeryville as accessor agency to the Emeryville Redevelopment Agency. This meeting is being conducted in person at 1333 Park Avenue here in Emeryville. Madam Clerk, I would like to note that all members are still present, and my previous comments regarding appropriate meeting conduct still stand. Moving to item 3 is approval of the final agenda. Members, do we have a motion for the final agenda?
To approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Aye.
Mayor Welsh.
Aye. Item 4 is ex parte communications. Members, do any of you have any ex parte communications to report? Seeing as hearing none. Item 5 is public comment for the consent agenda and items not on the agenda. Any member of the public that wish to comment on the consent agenda and items not on the agenda can do so now for 2 minutes. Seeing and hearing no members of the public wishing to make public comment, I am now closing public comment. Item 6 is the consent agenda. Members, would any of you like to pull an item? If not, do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. The roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Aye.
Mayor Welsh.
Aye. Madam Clerk, the time is 7:29 p.m. This meeting is adjourned. Madam Clerk, the time is still, it's 7:30 now. I would like to call to order this meeting of the Emeryville City Council. We are still at 1333 Park Avenue here in Emeryville. Madam Clerk, please note that all members are still present and my previous comments regarding appropriate meeting conduct still stand. Let's move on to item 3, approval of the final agenda. Do we have a motion on the final agenda?
I move approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. The roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Aye.
Mayor Welsh.
Aye. No special orders of the day. Item 5, announcement of commission and committee vacancies, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. We just opened up a new recruitment for various vacancies across of our committees and boards and commissions, and the application deadline is Friday, August 16th, and appointments will be made at your September 3rd meeting.
Thank you very much. Item 6, council member special announcements and reports on meetings and attendance. Do any members have any special announcements or reports on meetings and attendance? All right. Item 7, city manager's report. Mr. City Manager?
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item 8 is ex parte communications. Members, please review this agenda one last time. Do any of you have any ex parte communications to report? Seeing and hearing none. Item 9 is public comment for the consent agenda and items not on the agenda. If any member of the public would like to make a public comment for the consent agenda or items not on the agenda, can do so now for 2 minutes. Seeing, hearing none, public comment is now closed. Item 10 is the consent agenda. Members, please review the consent agenda. If any member would like to pull an item, please do so now. If not, do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Aye.
Mayor Welsh.
Aye. We have 2 public hearings tonight. Item 11.1, resolution of the City Council of the City of Emeryville amending the City of Emeryville master fee schedule for the fiscal year 2025. Members, would you be all agreeable to waiving presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Lawrence. Sorry about that. This is a public hearing. Madam Clerk, the time is 7:32 p.m. I'm now opening the public hearing. Any member of the public that wishes to comment on 11.1 can do so now for 3 minutes. Seeing and hearing no members of the public wishing to comment on this item, I am now closed. Madam Clerk, the time is 7:33 p.m. The public hearing is now closed. Members, I turn to you for deliberation. Member Bouders?
Motion to approve the fee schedule for 2025.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Aye.
Mayor Welsh.
Aye. Our second public hearing for this evening, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Emeryville establishing the fiscal year 2025 Property and Business Improvement District annual levy for the respective parcels within the improvement district. Members, would you be agreeable to waiving the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Have a good night, Lawrence.
Madam Clerk, the time is 7:33 p.m. I am opening this public hearing is now open. Any member of the public that wish to comment on the resolution of the City Council of the City of Emeryville establishing the fiscal year 2025 Property and Business Improvement District Annual Assessment Levy can do so now for 3 minutes. Seeing and hearing no member of the public, Madam Clerk, the time is 7:34 p.m. I am closing this public hearing. Members, I turn to you for deliberation on the item.
Motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. The roll, please.
Councilmember Bouders?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryforce?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mora?
Aye.
Mayor Welsh?
Aye. Thank you. We have no action items this evening. Department head reports.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Community Development Director's report on Planning Commission actions at their June 27th meeting. All members of the commission were present. Commissioner Carol Johnson was sworn in. The commission received an informational presentation from Public Works staff on REACH codes. The Planning Commission unanimously, with one recusal, approved an amendment to a major conditional use permit allowing for the continued use of 4300 San Pablo Avenue as a temporary women's shelter. The term of the permit was extended from June 30th to December 31st, 2024. The commission also unanimously approved a finding that the city's potential acquisition of 1245 Powell Street is consistent with the general plan as required by Government Code Section 65402. The commission unanimously approved a resolution recommending that the city council approve amendments to the planning regulations regarding accessory dwelling units in order to conform these requirements to state law. This item is scheduled for the city council's next meeting on July 18th. The July 25th meeting of the Planning Commission will be canceled, and staff would like to recognize departing Commissioners Chair Jack Gazzoni and Vice Chair Al Dram for their service on the commission. This concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Members, any follow-up questions on what we just heard? No? Thank you, Chad. Item 14, future agenda item requests from council members. Vice Mayor Moore?
I just have one item. I wanted to put a future agenda item on the Budget and Governance Committee agenda to look at the master fee schedule related to police overtime and consider an additional line item for police overtime related to reimbursable security work and consider aligning with best practices, possibly adopting a 10% administrative fee to defray costs related to payroll, training, equipment utilization, or otherwise offset non-reimbursable overtime costs.
I'd be agreeable to that.
Support.
All right. Thank you. Can we have that on the future budget and governance agenda item? Thank you. Any other members? Future agenda item request. Member Pryforce.
This is the agenda item, future agenda that I'd like to place on the Pledge of Allegiance, returning to these council chamber halls that as we celebrate, many of us celebrate July 4th, and I think of Frederick Douglass on what is to the slave the 4th of July. That I think about that the freedom that the Constitution promises as a document of liberty, that we continue to strive for that. And I want to demonstrate the Pledge of Allegiance to those who have served to protect that freedom, those who wear a badge and don't wear a badge, those who serve our country domestically and abroad. Happy 4th of July. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And once again, I removed under God because that was a point of contention with the removal of the Pledge of Allegiance. And so once again, I submit to this body that we return the Pledge of Allegiance to our proceedings.
Is there majority support to place that on the future agenda? There is not. Madam Clerk, the time is 7:38 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.
Recording stopped.